is up, everybody? I am Mike Barrera. We are across the pitch. I am joined by my awesome co-host, Dave Miller. How you doing tonight, Dave?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Uh, Not the result some of us wanted yesterday, but overall, I'm feeling pretty good about this team. I'm feeling good
Yeah.
about the momentum we have going forward, and I'm very excited just to sit down and talk about last night's match. How about yourself? How did you?
Yeah.
Now that you've had a night to sleep on it, how did you think about last night's match?
If it was, having to write about it was quite difficult because the first half there was some bits that happened, but the second half just really petered out. Nothing really happened in the second half. There weren't many chances. Both teams just sort of looked stuck trying to get the ball forwards. But I guess for the Union, I think they'll take it. I think if you'd have offered them 7 points in the last three games, they'd have bitten their hands off. And then obviously got a good big game against Columbus Crew, who looking at the league table, haven't really got much to be. Well, in the grand scheme of things, in the way that they're like picking up points at the moment, they're either going to have to win now, or their season again is going to peter out very quickly. The apart from I say from Inter Miami, sort of upwards the table starting to really sort of close in now, and obviously Columbus Crew, especially for Columbus Crew, if they don't win this match, their playoff hopes are over pretty much. I think depending on the other results as well across the weekend, but it sort of do or die for Columbus. I think I'm expecting a tough game for the Union.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the table right now. So Columbus is at ninth with 34 points. We have a pretty congested third through eighth. We have DC United with 40 points. DC United kind of came out of nowhere. They were closer to the bottom of the table, and they just slowly kept
Yeah,
coming up and up and up. So they're someone to be reckoned with now. But then you have NYCFC, Philly, Atlanta, and Orlando all tied at 39 points.
yeah,
Montreal's at 37, and then Columbus is at 34. So, Amy, you could say they're at the bottom, they're ninth place, but if you win against the Union, they're up to 37 points. Now they're in eighth place, tied
that's
with
what I mean. Yeah,
Montreal, and then anything can happen after that. So it's really going to be fun for us as fans to watch these next handful of games. What is it, 8 or 9 games left? To just how much is this table going to move up and down over the next couple weeks? So it's pretty exciting stuff. But we're going to start the show off as we always do with our news and notes. Get right into this past week's you know, union stuff that's going on.
yeah.
Hasn't been really too busy though. One of the
No,
more significant news was the fact that Cole Turner, our homegrown midfielder, is now given a chance to play in the USL. He got loaned off to El Paso Locomotive for the remainder of the season, and they are currently in the lead of the Mountain Division at 47 points with a 13-2-8 record.
yeah,
So it's another situation where we have a homegrown who's really not seeing the field at all. We saw that with Jack DeVries. Now we see this with Cole. What were your thoughts when you saw that come out?
I mean, it was sort of like a shoulder shrug sort of thing. It's nice for him to go out and get some game time because he needs it. Obviously, he's not really playing at the moment, sort of stuck in limbo between the Union 2 actual Union first team. But
Yep.
that's not really an important player. I haven't seen him play much this year, so good for him to go out. But it's not going to be one of those things like, say, if like McGlynn went out on loan somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Where people stand
Yep.
up and go, "Oh, okay, this is going to be really big." Like someone like Carl Turner, who isn't as good of a player as obviously Jack McGlynn, isn't as important as players like them. It's not going to really, draw as much interest as it potentially should from a wider union aspect. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And it's just funny seeing players like Orvik, Turner, and DeVries who really have not seen combined. Cole has seen the most time on the pitch out of the three of them, and even he's only played for about 10 minutes this season. I think he came on late. I think it was against New England, might have been when they were shorthanded. So
Yeah,
it's weird to see these three guys now receiving time elsewhere, but that's kind of what you want to see. You want to see them develop and grow, and obviously Orvik is probably not going to come back, but for Turner and for Jack, it's a good experience for them as they mature and become more established soccer players. So I'm excited for him, and hopefully El
yeah,
Paso can continue their obviously on a good season so far. So hopefully they can use him to help with their accomplishments this year. So that's great to see. Aside from that, It really hasn't been anything of note from the Union. It's been pretty
No,
quiet overall. I think now that we're kind of closing on the playoff picture, one of the more significant news is that against New England, we're going to be shorthanded. Not New England. It's oh my god, who is it again?
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati. Thank you.
8
Cincinnati. We're
players.
going to
Yeah,
be missing another 8 players, another handful of players. So the international break is going to creep up on us again. Considering where Cincinnati sits on the table, how significant is it for us that we're going to be missing that many players going into that match?
um, I think the facts frustrate me for the Union, obviously, because
Yep.
that's sort of like getting into the business end now. And I think if you looked at if you're looking at the fixtures and you're sort of ticking it down, I think October 10th, October 10th for me, October 9th for you guys. I mean, that's
Hmm.
sort of like you come off the Columbus game, you're coming into that big game on the road, you're hoping to continue to sort of run a form. And if you look at well, I mean, it's not an ideal time, but the Union have got three road games
Yeah.
on the trot from Cincinnati, then they go to Montreal and you go to Minnesota. You look at that and you think you have to win against Cincinnati because there's no guarantee you're going to win in Montreal. There's no guarantee that you're going to win in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just looking at those fixtures alone, that's probably the worst time to have the players out because you sort of think, looking at the schedule, that's the short that not that it's a surefire win, but if they're going to win the game out of those three, it's going to be that one. Now you've got 8 players out. It then obviously kind of works because those players won't then be coming back till the following, like during the following weeks. So those guys will be a bit jet lagged. They won't be at 110%. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fully focused coming into the Montreal game. So again, you've got 2 games impact. Then you've got to then go cross country to Minnesota into I think Minnesota is in the central time zone.
Yeah. Minnesota Central. Yep.
So then you've got to go into different time zone. I know it's only an hour, but you go into a different time zone, different preparation, late sort of a later game that your body's used to. So
Hmm.
again, it's sort of that's just not an ideal run for the Union. And the fact they've now got 8 players away in probably the most winnable games, next 5, including Nashville, was it's slightly frustrating, especially with their woes on the road.
And I'm looking at FC Cincinnati's recent run of play. They lost to Toronto 3-2. They lost to DC United 4-2. They lost to NYCFC 2-1. Atlanta 4-0. They beat Toronto 2-0, but they lost to Miami the match prior. They're not doing well right now. This is a
Mm,
team that's limping to the end of the season. And if anything, this is when you want to earn those easy points. Just even if it's just 1 point on the road, you still want to have the chance to earn those easy points and keep your momentum going forward. And I think
yeah,
you're absolutely correct. So I'm looking at the Union schedule now. You pull off a draw against the Red Bulls, you're hoping to get 3 points at home. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, you don't earn 3 points at home. You get only 1 point. Now you really have to win against Cincinnati because
yeah.
like you mentioned, Montreal, Minnesota, Nashville. Those are 1, 2, 3 matches. You could lose all three of those. You could draw
And
all three of
also,
those. Yeah,
I don't
go
think
ahead.
the Union haven't won on the road since like mid May or end of May or whatever it was. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's 5, but I'm pretty sure they haven't won a game on the road, have they? In about 5 months.
They last home match that they won, I think you're going
Uh,
back
road,
to
yeah, on the road. Yeah, it was 24th of May against DC United. It's the
they
last
drew,
game they won on the road.
yeah, and they drew against Miami on the road.
Yeah,
They lost to New England, obviously Club America, lost to DC United, and then they're back home. They drew against the Red Bulls. So you're right, they haven't been good on the road. And
no,
it's you want the Cincinnati game to be one of those boosters, one of those matches where you get some extra confidence, you get
yeah,
some maybe you score a couple goals, kind of get your strikers moving forward on a positive momentum, and now boom, you're hitting a wall. And we've already seen it with the Union, and this isn't just this season. I'm talking about years and years past. Whenever there's a break, whenever there's some sort of travel with other players going to their international duties, they don't come back really that strong. And we've seen them
no.
fall on the table this year. We saw them fall on the table a few years back when they were coming off the Copa break and they just collapsed for the rest of the year. So Jim has a very tall order on his hands to
Oh,
try to figure
absolutely.
this out.
I think looking at
But
Montreal's schedule, I was going to say, looking
yeah,
at
go ahead.
Montreal's schedule, they play Atlanta United before the Union game. So again, that's a tough game. A team around the Union, so they'll be
Hmm.
dropping points irrespective. And then I'm pretty sure it's And then actually, it's probably the perfect sort of thing for the Union because Montreal play Atlanta United, who play the Union, then play the Union, then they play Orlando City. So, irrespective, teams will be dropping points around the Union, so that could work in their favour. But looking at the two games before Montreal, which is obviously Columbus Crew and Cincinnati, they need to pick up at least 4 points out of those because,
Oh
as you
yeah.
mentioned before, they could lose all three of those games heading into the road games. So again, needing to get 3 points when you haven't won on the road for 5 months. Then you play
Hmm.
Cincinnati at home on the 31st, where I think looking at probably the surefire win, Cincinnati, as you said, would be sort of probably giving players who haven't played much minutes and seeing what they've got heading into next season. Then they've got the big road game in New York against
Yep.
NYCFC in the final game. So, I mean, again, it's a very, very difficult run in. I mean, people will look at it on paper go, Columbus Crew this is the game they have to win, otherwise they're going to be out of the playoff hunt. Cincinnati on the road, 8 players out. It's going to be difficult. Montreal fighting for the playoffs. It's going to be difficult. So I'm pretty sure they've got playoff aspirations of their own. Looking how they're doing in the West years. Like Minnesota right in the middle of the playoff battle in the West. If do you know what I mean? Then obviously you come back and play Nashville, who are hoping to lock up the second seed. Toronto's season's petering out. It's going to be a very, very action. The fact that I don't know, it's just the leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Because I mean, I'm just going to highlight the players that will likely be out for Cincinnati game, and they won't return until later in the week.
Yep.
And having come into the game against Montreal on short rest, to be Andre Blake, Bison, Jackie Glesney may get a call up. I doubt he will though. Hers, Jamiro Montero, Daniel Galsberg, Powell.
Powell.
Maybe
Yep.
one of like maybe Bueno gets called up to the sort of the youth teams from I think the Colombian or Venezuela. From Venezuela, maybe gets called up to
Yep.
the one of the Venezuelan under 23 teams or something, or even Leon Flack might get called up into the like US youth team. Perhaps I'm not entirely sure what's going on there yet, but again, it's going to be a very difficult stretch for them, and they're going to be in big sort of. They're going to be very stretched heading into that Cincinnati game, and they're going to be jet lagged. They're not going to be 100% heading into Montreal.
Yeah. It's tough. Like you mentioned, Minnesota's fighting for a playoff spot. They're going to give you their all, and then you have those players coming back from international break after they played a hard game against
Yeah,
whatever their schedule's like. So there's a lot of travel, a lot of what ifs, a lot of concerns moving forward. And then I just looked at Montreal's schedule as well. So they played against New England last night and they lost 4-1. Then they get a few days off and they play on Saturday against Atlanta in Montreal. So they stay home for a full week and then they play us. So after they play, a quick turnaround on Saturday, they're home for 6 days just hanging out, relaxing.
yeah,
While on the other hand, for us, we have, let's see our schedule real quick. Cincinnati on Saturday, and then we travel next week, the following week, to
Montreal.
Montreal. So yes, we get 6 days off as well, 6 7 days off as well. But the travel thing just gives you that extra,
Yeah,
bit of headache.
yeah. But
Um,
as you said, I mean, obviously the travel, but then obviously if you look at the actual travel that the team will be doing, they've got. I mean, it's not the longest trip, but they've got to go north to Ohio to play Cincinnati, and they got to come back, and then they got to fly all the way out to Canada
mhm.
to play Montreal, which again is a lot of traveling, and then they come back, and then they got to go more north and more west to play Minnesota, different
Yep,
time zones, more traveling. 3 road games in a row at this time of the
it's
season is.
tough.
I mean, yeah, it's tough, but I don't. How did the schedule makers come up with that? I guarantee you that no other team will have to play 3 road games from now until the end of the season.
Well, that's MLS for you, where the scheduling doesn't make sense and everybody's just expected to do it. And you know what we're going to do next year? We're going to throw in an MLS and Liga MX league, or 2 years from now, and we'll make it more convoluted and more
Yeah,
complicated. But the good thing with Montreal is at least it's directly north of us compared to being further out west in Canada. So at least you're within the same time zone.
yeah,
That's one of the things. I mean, Montreal from us is a 7 hour drive, so it's not terribly far, but it's just the inconvenience of having going across the
yeah,
border, all that stuff. But regardless, that's way far ahead, a couple weeks ahead. Let's talk about last night with the Red Bulls. Um, I would say if you were to talk about this rivalry, it is always very interesting very tense, and more often than not, doesn't exactly go how either team may want it. But 1-1 draw is expected when you see these two teams play.
Yeah.
How did you think about the result, the match, and everything else in between that happened?
Um, I think obviously the result was a good point. I think you take it. I mean, the issue is, I mean, obviously with the first half, the Union were definitely the better team in the first half. They controlled the game. They were deserved their lead. They were comfortable. But the goal was just such a frustrating goal to concede. For the ball to literally just drop into onto Fernandez, and then he was allowed the time to turn and just blast
Hmm.
it. I mean, Blake had no chance, but the fact that he was in the middle of the box around players, able just to bring the ball down, turn and shoot was a frustrating one. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it sort of sapped the energy out of the Union, and in turn sapped the energy out of the game. But after that, sort of both teams are sort of stuck in a limbo of trying to push forward and do this and that, and it just never sort of materialised. The game sort of text never materialised. The game sort of like, as I mentioned at the top of the show, petered out, and I don't know, it's just a frustrating thing. Because it was definitely a winnable game again for the Union. And like I say, apart from final few minutes where in stoppage time when New England really, well, the Red Bulls really put on like the push players forward and was really going for it. I mean,
yep.
I can't really think of periods of the game where, they had the ball for long periods around the Union penalty area and sort of, created plenty of chances.
Yeah, the first half was, I mean, when I remember looking at the possession percentage a little bit before their goal, and the Union were controlling the game, controlling the half. A lot of times you saw really good movement down the side of the pitch, and they were just creating chances. I mean, at the end of the game, shots on goal, I think favored the Red Bulls, but overall, it seems like the Union had control of that first half. And then you get
Mm,
the goal, and you really feel like you can score a second one by the end of the half, if not by the end of the game. As soon as the Red Bulls got that goal, it looked like the Union forgot to play soccer for a few minutes. The Red Bulls were pushing; they had more confidence. They were passes were better.
yeah,
And it just kind of sucked the life out of you. And I posted on Twitter. I said the Union have to win this game the way the Union are supposed to play. You get the first goal, you suffocate on D. The same thing we saw against oh my god, who did they just play? Against Atlanta. You got the first goal, you held tight on D, and you won the game. We wanted to see that
yeah,
again. We wanted to see the same, quote unquote Union style win again to show that this team can continue to play at a high level. And then what makes this the second goal or the Red Bulls goal the most frustrating is the defense just kind of fell asleep. And you saw this against Montreal, and Jim Curtin highlighted this in his press conference in the
yeah,
Montreal game as well as the Red Bulls game. Against Montreal, the goal kick, I believe, if I remember Jim correctly, said the goal kick kind of went off, kind of like snagged the kick a little bit to the side. It caught the Union players off guard. Montreal gets it, attacks, boom, they score a goal. In this
yeah,
instance, it's off a dead ball, catches the Union sleeping, and I think Mumbiza was the guy who was too far off Fernandez. He turns around and shoots. It's just these mental lapses of not paying attention. And we've seen this enough times this year where it's the team is just not paying attention when it matters most in
yeah,
whether it be on a cross, one on one down the side of the pitch. It just always seems like there's one moment in the game where they fall asleep. So that's what I think frustrated me the most. If I'm going to lose, if I'm going to give up a goal, I want to see it earned, not given away. And I feel like that's been the mantra this season for the Union, just not being there 100% of the time. But besides that, one of the good moments of last night's match was that a forward, Sergio Santos scored again. What did you think of Sergio's performance last night?
I thought Sergio had a good game. Again, you saw how his pace sort of impacted the game. It forced, it did New York to sort of take a more cautious approach. You saw how his pace allowed them to get in behind. They were a bit deeper with their
Hmm.
defending, but even then, you just saw how the long ball, how it allows players just to go long with the ball and really creates different options for the team. Which obviously it's a huge, um, so it's a very much a huge sort of thing for the Union to have as a sort of a second option. Really, is that pace. It creates so many different ways that they can attack. I know like countless times, but he contributed again. Obviously, the goal was a nice finish. Well, it's a very simple finish, but he did well. He was did well to get in the correct with the chance to score.
Yeah.
But again, there was that one moment where he could have perhaps scored earlier on in the game where Leon Flack did really well to get down the line, and he played a brilliant cutback towards Santos, where if he gets a touch, well, if he can control the ball, it's a clear cut chance for the Union. He potentially scores to put them 1-0 up before the game's even started, before that they've even scored the first goal, before the game's really started in the first 10 minutes. But Sergio completely bypasses the ball, and yeah, I mean, that was a frustrating bit, really.
Well, we're seeing it again and again and again, and people on Twitter are in agreement. I'd say for the most part, is Leon Flock is getting himself in the position to make runs. He's getting the ball in space. Again, he does not seem like he is fully developed offensively. And I think in an interview recently on one of these local pods that we have to listen to, he mentioned he's not there offensively yet. So he knows there's some work to be done. We can see there's work to be done. But I just wish I could see one cross from him that was really good. It always seems like his crosses just don't have enough umph under. It doesn't have the right.
I thought
Go ahead.
I thought he was absolutely fine last night. I thought he put some good balls into the box. Again, that cutback to Sergio was a perfect one. Sergio was the one that made the mistake by not being able to actually control the ball and get it under control. And there was another one in the second half where, because the way the Union playing, it's so frustrating that they have no width, so
Hmm.
the strikers have to come up wide to get the ball. At the point where Sergio was
Yeah.
off, so Gazdag was playing the second striker. Didn't use Darvo. Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about that too.
So whatever. And they've done all that, and he puts a really nice ball into the box. And you think, if someone's there, they can get the ball, and then there's something else can happen. It's the ball in. The only player that's in the box is on the other side. It's sort of like, well, where's the strikers? Gazdag stood right next to Flark, and Shabirka's the other side. And it's sort of like, well, you can't blame him he's put the ball in the box like people want him to. If both strikers aren't there because the Union have no width and they don't actually have any width in their play, so it forces
Yeah.
strikers out of positions. You then can't blame the wide players when they put the balls in that no one's in there. And again, that comes down to the system and how. It comes down to the system and how flawed it can be sometimes, especially in these road games
Yeah. Definitely.
where sometimes you need width. And Jim did say on his press conference before the New York game that the fact they couldn't actually change their system, they couldn't actually change things up
Hmm.
because they don't have another winger apart from Ilsinho, which then begs the question again: why don't they try playing Bizo as a right winger or as on the wing and then playing Powell at right back?
Okay. You kind of touch on a lot of things there, and I think it brings up a lot of great questions as well. For one, and just kind of briefly talking about Leon before we go to the next part of those topics, is he may have had one or two crosses like you mentioned, but I just want to see more consistently. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. I want to see it more consistently from
Yeah,
him
I think. Yeah,
from game to game.
I
So
think it'll come.
maybe I hope so because he's only 20. He's a young kid. I still believe he's more of a 6 than he is an 8. That I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's just me. With Jose being gone this weekend, I am more than certain that we're going to see him at the 6. So that's exciting to look forward to. But in terms of Davo,
yeah,
so I saw on Twitter people were saying, "Why are you taking Sergio out? Why is Sergio coming out? Why is Davo not in?" So I asked Jim last night. I said, Coach, you have Sergio playing really well all game. You have Casper who scored a couple goals of late. They're both playing well. It's a tough decision to determine who do you take out because they're both playing well. But what went into taking Sergio out tonight over Casper? And he actually gave me a pretty good answer. He said, on a stretch of 3 straight games or 3 close games within a week, Sergio has a history of being injured. So essentially, if he were to play extended minutes last night, and then you have the Columbus game on
yeah,
Saturday or Sunday, his historical medical record, I guess, that they have on file shows that if they overwork him in those 3 games, he runs a high risk of being injured, which we've already talked about before. Sergio
yeah,
does get banged up a lot. So it seems like maybe it wasn't done on a quality of the ball that he was playing that night because obviously he was playing better than Casper. It seems like they're just trying to keep him
yeah.
as fresh as they possibly can for the entire season. So I understand in that
Mm.
sense. Now I pause that, put that aside. If you take Sergio out, why in God's name are you bringing Gazdag in to the forward spot? Why not try Davo? You see it that you're able to get behind this Red Bull defense. You saw Sergio score that second goal that got called back on an offside, which they didn't show any other angle on TV,
Yeah,
so I couldn't tell you if it was offside or not. I personally thought it was a great goal,
I thought it was
but
tight.
what the hell
I thought
do
it
I
was
know?
very
I'm just
tight.
some kid in Jersey. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Apparently, I thought it was close enough to get a VAR review. Regardless, you take
Oh,
Sergio
it did
out.
get reviewed by VAR, by the way.
Well, the official then go look at it himself. That's what I mean to
Oh
say.
yeah,
He didn't
but yeah, obviously
step off the pitch to look at it.
VAR did look. Yeah, VAR did have a
Yeah,
look. To be fair, so I mean, it was tight. Obviously, or perhaps they didn't see enough of it to be sort of overturned. If you know what I mean. But yeah, of
maybe.
course, it was
Yeah,
again. That's what you get from Sergio, a guy who can play on the shoulder of the last man, and if he's given that space to run onto the ball, he'll do it. He showed it last night with the goal that didn't obviously got disallowed. But again, it was some like, and it was a weird one because you saw he was pretty much in on goal, and he selflessly
yeah,
passed it to Shabirka. So that selflessness, and obviously respect for Casper still there. But then obviously he ended up finishing it. But again, as you said, it's just what you get from him. New York were vulnerable to the counter attack, and they didn't take advantage of that during the rest of the game.
exactly. And then so you bring in Gazdag for Sergio, and you can see they didn't attack that well throughout the rest of that match. You needed someone
Yeah,
like Davo who was just a quick enough uh, guy to kind of keep the defense honest. And you just lost that. And people are wondering, I think rightfully so. You only have Davo for one season. You only have 8 matches left. When are we going to see extended time from him? What has he done wrong in
yeah.
practice? Why are we not giving him 15, 20 minutes a game? We've seen what he can do from his highlight reel, so why not give him a chance? I mean, what do you think is going through Jim's head with the subs, with that even Bueno included, who was on the
Um,
roster last night?
I don't know. I mean, is it a loyalty to the guys that have got him here so far? I mean, he's just because obviously it's not Jim who obviously gives the okay to these signings. It's Ernest and the people above. So
Of course.
they make the signings, and Jim has to go. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, is it Jim? I mean, so potentially these are players that Jim's been handed to, have been handed to Jim, and Jim's sort of like, well, they're not really in my plans. They don't really fit what I want to do with my team. Which I mean,
Maybe.
fair enough. But I mean, again, as you said, it's so frustrating when you've got all this pace in the team. You're expecting some more firepower from players like Dava who have looked a bit exciting in some of the clips that they've shown. But yeah, I, I don't really know what's going on. To be honest, obviously it's a frustrating one to
One of the
not
things that
obviously see players like Bueno.
no, I
So,
completely agree. And one of the things that I did at least like to see was that he took Bedoya out when he was supposed to be taken out. He didn't let him sit there for the 90. And you saw it multiple times with Bedoya and Casper on the right hand side. Either Bedoya wasn't quick enough to get somewhere or Casper wasn't quick enough to get somewhere. So having
yeah,
Davo, having McGlynn, having Sullivan, Paxson gives you that extra speed to just allow you to stretch the field more. So I'm glad he took out Bedoya earlier. That was a
yeah,
one bright moment. But you bring in Paxton there. Did you notice anything from him in particular? He kind of was quiet for the time that he was out there. Did you notice anything either positive or
yeah.
negative from his performance? I
No,
didn't. I
definitely. He
didn't
didn't really. I mean,
either.
as opposed to most of the players that played in the second, as opposed to do anything. Um, Yo, so just quick side note. If I'm
Yep.
pretty pissed off, DJ Chark's literally been what's it called? He's been carted off in the first drive of the game. So that's my bet and my DraftKings killed already
Oh
before the game's even started,
no.
pretty much.
Wait, is the
So yeah,
game? Oh, we're gonna take an
that's my
NFL
luck.
break real quick. Is the NFL? Did it start already? You said right.
Yeah, the game
Score of the
started.
game?
DJ Chark is nothing. But DJ Chark was carted off on the first drive.
Crap. I
So
have
that's
Jones on my fantasy team, and I have him as the first touchdown scorer. But
yeah,
that's the other football. We're talking about the best
football side.
football in the world, exactly. So
I mean, yeah,
you get this,
honestly,
you get those two subs on. Now, do you wish he would have made another sub, or was there a sub in particular that you were looking to see last night compared to what he
I
did
think
out there? Because
everyone's.
people weren't happy with it.
I think it was Darva. I think people were annoyed that Darva didn't come in. I think for a
Hmm.
game in which it was tight. There wasn't. And you needed keeping the ball on the floor. They weren't playing. Like, there's a player like Garsdag to unlock the game. But obviously, when he's playing in the striker position, he's not going to be able to have Casper. So it's not exactly going to be much for him to sort of play off. Whereas if he played
Yeah,
men behind the striker, about the strikers, the players around him. So I mean, perhaps playing Gazdag in a deeper role. And again, I think the game was calling up for Darvo.
agreed. No, I absolutely agree. I would have liked to have seen Flock get taken out, or no, I'm not sorry, Flock. Bedoya get moved out, puts Jose on the right side, bring Flock at the 6, and then put Miro at the 8, and have Gazdak at the 10, and then have Davo up top.
Yeah,
I would like to have seen a kind of a shift in the formation rather than what we saw last
yeah,
night. We saw the week prior, or the match prior, that Jose Martinez does have some ability to move forward, and he created that great goal for Casper against was that Orlando City. So I would have liked to seen that a bit, just to kind of add that more umph on the attacking side. But when it goes back to your point that you mentioned with Membizo, and Jim essentially saying he doesn't really have another winger.
no, I think there was some technical
Dave, you
differences
back?
here with Mike.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it
we're
was you who's
back.
frozen, my guy. Yeah, I think it was you who's frozen.
I'm good here. Oh, my
Yeah, I think
apologies.
yeah,
Can you
that's right.
go ahead?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, obviously, I mean, it was what were we discussing? Oh, Bizo playing as a wide man. I think
Yes.
you see that he's not afraid to put a cross. He'll get the ball and he'll put a cross into the box early. He won't, dilly dally like Bedoya does, and Bedoya pussyfoots with the ball and he is unsure whether he's going to pass it, if he's going to cross it, and he just ends up either losing the ball or committing a foul. Or other, I think again, it's just you see the difference in the team without Bedoya in
Yeah.
comparison to when he's in it. And I go back. I mean, obviously, I could sort of understand the game last night, where obviously it's going to be a tougher game. It's a league game where you take a point on the road,
Yeah.
and I go back to that game against Club America at home, and I'm sorry to track back, but just that midfield just lacks so much creativity, and you just
Yep.
know as the opposing team that those three aren't going to do anything to hurt you. They aren't going to be these attacking threats that pose you a big issue, and that was the big worry coming into sort of sort of last night's game as well. Is would they have enough going forward? Ended up they did obviously. Well, I think Mira had a good game last night. Got to good areas. Played some nice passes. But again, it's just as you said, like Bedoya's lack of pace is just so alarming that he just
And
puts
it's
some
not his
good
fault. He's
passes.
just yeah, he's just older, and it
Yeah,
just and okay. In terms of the passes, I think we're going to segue a little bit here with the passes. Why haven't we seen more of McGlynn? Because when he was in that one match, I believe it was against New England at home, his passes were so perfect up the field, and you could see how valuable he is. And
yeah,
you saw when he was starting, earlier this year when Jose was out. What has he done wrong that he's not earning more minutes? I mean, I don't understand it. He out of the three homegrowns that we have, like three teenagers, you have Paxton, Quinn, and Jack. Paxton still has a ways to go. I think he's good, but not great. Quinn, obviously, he's scored some goals. He has that Fontana vibe from last season. But in terms of the quality of play, personally to me, I think McGlynn has been the highest quality between the three of them. I don't know
yeah.
what
It looks
more he
most
needs to
ready.
do to. I agree with him. Ready. I think that's a great way to put it. He looks most ready. I don't see what more he has to do to get 20, 30 minutes in a match like last night when the passes weren't great. We saw a lot of turnovers last night. What more does he have to do?
Again, I think again it comes back to the same point. I think it's Jim's loyalty to the guys that have got him to where he is so far. I mean,
Yeah.
you saw the reluctance throughout the middle of the season where I mean, like Stuart Finley's come in and he's played games, he's impressed and stuff like that. And you think the only time you've ever seen Stuart Finley play games is when they rest apart from like suspensions is when they're resting players for the CONCACAF Champions League, and Finley's not
Mhm.
really put a foot wrong. Um, Looking at obviously the front three, sort of, I mean, Kasper's pretty much played every single game this season, even when he's
Yeah.
gone through a rut. So again, it's that loyalty. Like obviously Burke and what's his name, Burke and Santos are both very fluid in who plays and who does what.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, obviously Montero's issues ended. The issues surrounding Montero were resolved, and he was instantly straight back in the team straight away. I mean, the entire fan base were able to see that that disaster about 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, and he played
Yeah.
90 minutes consistently over about 10 to 12 games over a 5 week period.
Mhm.
It's a lot of players that have gotten to where he is so far, and apart from, I mean, obviously, sort of like Fluck has sort of replaced Aronson in that starting lineup because everything's pretty much the same, obviously, and Biza for
Yeah.
Gaddis, but everything's pretty much the same bar those two. So sort of like, I don't know, I think Jim's just too loyal to the players, and sort of, again, it comes at its own detriment to the team.
Oh, I agree, and it's funny now you see Paxson doing so well at Salzburg. You're like, man, you forgot how important he was to their team's success. I would say one of the things we noticed when he was with the Union, he didn't have the best strike at goal, but everything else he did was just so valuable to the team at from that position.
Yeah,
And you really miss him this year, and you didn't realize it until you saw it firsthand. And the same with McKenzie. I'd say too. You miss him as well. So he was certain back there. You could trust
yeah.
Mark back there. Um, but in terms of the center backs, what did you think of Jacob and Jack?
Um,
Because he gave him pretty high praise over the press conference the
yeah.
few days prior.
I was going to quickly say, obviously regarding Brent Harrison, I mean,
Yeah.
again, the Union sort of lack that player in an attacking area behind the strikers to get on the ball and got run with it, attack the defenders and put some pressure, which they don't have. And again, I allude back to the point when you're playing against Club America and you're in a crunch game where you have to score goals, and
Yep.
you're the opposition. You see 35-year-old Alejandro Bedoya, Jose Martinez, and Leon Flack, who's obviously, as you said, not the best in attack.
Hmm.
Um, it just doesn't strike any fear. It's sort of like
No.
you're laughing at the Union when you think you guys need to score goals, and you're putting this against us. You're putting this against us when we're a superior team, and you guys need goals. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll just we'll barge you aside and outplay you and just pick you apart, which is what Club America did. And I think the Union will be in a weird situation come the playoffs because that could easily happen again if they end up coming in the seventh seed or whatever, and they end up having to play New England
Oh,
at
I
full
would
strength.
I would be dreading that game if they play New
At
England
full
in full.
strength, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so looking at the standings real quick before we kind of go back to your point, um, they are in the fifth spot. So if you were to hop over NYCFC into the fourth position, you're only 1 point behind DC United. So you're only 1 point behind the third place in the East. At this point, the very unlikely to catch Nashville in second place. You're obviously not going to catch New England. Nobody's going to catch New England. So your mission right now is to get home field advantage in the first round. That is what you have to make. As soon as you
yeah,
when you win that first round, then anything's possible after that. But
no, yeah,
this team obviously is just focused on defense. That the We're gonna put Flock in there, we're gonna put Jose in there and Bedoya, and we're gonna make sure you don't score on us at least. If we're not
yeah.
scoring a
We're
lot
gonna
of goals,
work hard.
we're gonna work hard. I mean, Leo Flock, as I know we kind of get on him for his offensive, I guess, struggles. He's extremely quick to recover on defense. He does make some impressive tackles. He's obviously going to be a valuable player for us moving forward on the defensive side. So,
Yeah,
on if you're talking about striking fear into the opponent, yes, they're not afraid that we're going to score, but they see that lineup and they think, okay, it's going to be tough for us to score as well. So
yeah.
that's, I guess, one of the silver
It's a catch.
linings.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know it's a catch-22. Um, but any other thoughts on the Rebels match before we kind of talk about Columbus?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I just alluded to the defenders. Obviously, quite a solid game. Didn't know much get past them. Blocked a few chances.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think obviously, as we said earlier in the week, Jim was full of praise for Jakob and said that he should be in the Norwegian team. We can't think of much more that he has to do, and he should be up for one of the MLS Defenders of the Year, which is obviously high praise for someone like Jakob.
Now, between the two, who would you pick if you had to pick one of them to be in that category of Defensive Player of the Year? Would you pick Jake or Jack?
Um,
I know they're a bit different in how
I
they
think
play.
Jakob will get it purely because of that goal against Atlanta United. I
I,
think like when people would look at it, they'd give it to Jake because of that goal. But
yeah,
I think Jack's probably been the more solid one. Hasn't had as many mistakes, hasn't had as many lapses of judgment that have ended up costing chances
I
to which
agree.
Jakob has. But yeah, I think they're both obviously very good players. They're both very solid defenders, and they both do such a good job at what they do. They've been integral to the team this year. So
I think they're different in the sense of their mentality when they have the ball at their feet. You've
yeah,
seen Jacob multiple times now take it from his box and just pitch as far attack that way. Obviously, he's scored headers. He's scored that beautiful goal from 55,000 yards away. Um, he has more of an aggressive attack mentality. At the same time, he gets a little careless. Some of his clearances from inside the box are terrifying because it looks like it's going to go into goal and he just shoots it out over the corner. So he has more of a reckless slash carelessness to him. Jack always just seems to be in the right spot at the right time. Whenever you think that the ball is going to go through past the defense, whenever you think that everything's going to collapse onto Blake, Elliott always finds his way to slide in at the right moment or to clear it away. So he is
yeah,
that like saving grace back there. But I've noticed a few things recently. He's been passing the ball down the pitch pretty effectively on several occasions over the last couple of matches, and I do like that he offers that passing ability from the back because we missed that with Harris Medunian being gone. That pass from the back, which is what we saw from McGlynn when he was playing back there behind Leon. We saw that the ability to pass forward from the back. So I like both. Like you mentioned, I think Jacob. If you had to ask the national audience who would they pick, they'd probably pick Glessens because they've seen more of the wow factor from him. But I think both are so valuable to the team, and
yeah.
I think they earn the right to be praised in that regard. Um,
Absolutely,
but
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely
go ahead.
agree. No, I absolutely
But
agree. Yeah,
hmm yeah, so now in terms of the next matchup on our schedule, we have the Columbus Crew coming to Chester again. We're not going back to Ohio; they're coming to Philly this time. The game is at, and I want to get this wrong. The match is at 4 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. The Columbus Crew have been decent lately. They've won a couple games in a row. They won 3 out of the last 4. I'm pulling up their schedule right now to see the exact totals. Um, oh, and the Campeones Club, they won 2-0. I forgot about that.
yeah.
They
The
had
Cruz
the
Cruzil.
yep, that's right, 2-0. That was yesterday actually. They beat Montreal 2-1 on the 25th. They drew against New England on the 18th, and they beat the Red Bulls. So that's one match, two, three matches against playoff contending teams that they played pretty well in. And then they
Yeah.
obviously won against Cruz Azul. So you're getting a Columbus team that's actually been playing pretty solid over the last 3 or 4 matches. Where are your feelings right now with them coming to Chester?
Um, in fact, they won the cap. They actually won the Campeones Cup,
Yep, they did. Hmm.
which is obviously again they're going to be coming off a big high on that and excited at the fact that you know, so it's sort of they're coming off that confidence of what we've just won a trophy. We can, who knows, we can sneak into this playoff thing. We've outgunned a Champions League semi-finalist. So yeah, I mean, who knows what they could end up doing. But I think again, maybe the Union could end up taking advantage of this overconfidence or this lack, sort of a relaxed approach. We've won this game. We're going to go into the Union game with more confidence. We should win this game. Whatever. Maybe the Union could take advantage of that sort of mindset that they might carry. I'm not saying that Columbus Crew will possess sort of like a confident and dismissive approach, but if they do, that could be something the Union could take advantage on the night.
Yeah, I'm about to pull up the betting line right now. So the favorite obviously is the Union minus 165, which is a little bit higher than I expected. To be honest with you, the Columbus Crew is at plus 450. The draw is at plus 320.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised by that. I thought it was gonna be a little bit closer for the Union. I mean, I know they're at home. I just expected it to be a bit lower. If you look at these matches between these two clubs, when we won the MLS Supporter Shield last year, the match we had in Columbus, if I remember correctly, is they scored their goal because it ricocheted off Mark McKenzie into the net.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, when I was at the game when they were in Philly, it was a tight 1-0 win by us. And then I think we played them early this year in Columbus, right? And we pulled the draw off the first game of the year,
yeah.
wasn't it?
And we beat and we beat them 1-0 at home. I
And we
think.
beat them 1-0. So you've seen these last 3 or 4 matches between these two clubs. It is never a high scoring match. It's always one
Yeah,
zero, 1-1, 0-0. Um, I expect this to be again 1-0 uh, outcome on
yeah,
either side. Now, in terms of the table, like I mentioned before, everybody's pretty close together, and I'll bring it up again. Columbus is right now at 34 points in the ninth spot. We're at 39. So you lose this match, and now they're knocking on your door at 37 points. So there's some massive playoff implications here.
yeah.
Knowing how important this match is, knowing how well these two teams are playing, what do you think the formation is going into this match?
I mean, it'll be the exact same as this every single week, which is a
Well,
diamond for.
Martinez is gone. Remember that. So what's the lineup? Sorry, what's the lineup in the formation?
Uh, I mean, imagine he'll play. I mean, I doubt he'll play Bueno because you don't want to upset. You don't want to play players who haven't played too much. Again, that's sort of the insight into the mind of Jim Kerr. But yeah, I mean, he'll probably go. The only change I can see him making is maybe probably Gazdag in for Martinez and put Flack in at the six.
Yeah, I would put Flock at the six. I would. I mean, if you did, well, Santos is going to be there. I forgot Burke isn't going to be
Yeah,
available, so you can't have him. So you're going to put Miro at the 8 and Gazdag at the 10 again. That's most likely what's going to happen. I wouldn't mind seeing Bedoya get off, but I know that's not going to happen. Do you think we see a defensive sub at all or no? Considering
uh,
the upcoming schedule, I mean, I'd probably not. I would say if anything, you're going to wait till Cincinnati to put those guys in. But we haven't seen
yeah,
Finley in a while. I would like to see him at least once.
yeah. I don't think he'll change it heading into this game. I think, especially considering, I don't know. I just this is the sort of game where Jim will play the exact same team, bar Jose. I don't know. It's just sort of Jim's not to become too well in terms of what he'll do is predictable. Do you know what I mean? Like it's too predictable. We said it in the past. We like to see this and this, but it never happens. Certainly against Club America, we don't see Gazdag and Montero on the same pitch. We'd like to see a lot of pace up front and things like that. And we just saw the exact same team that had played the following week for the following game. You know, the three defensive minded midfielders. But yeah, I just think there'll be one change. There'll be a tight, scrappy 1-0, 2-1, 0-0 sort of game. Don't think that. I'm hoping the Union don't lose. I'm not going to say they are going to lose, but I hope they don't lose.
Well, the good thing that's in their favor is the Union have been at least getting on the board. We saw at the Club America match, we said it right here, they haven't scored in a while. It had been a couple matches where they've really been able to get to the back of the net. Then you go against Orlando City. They played against obviously the Rebels last night. They're able to score goals now, and they're getting to the back of the net. They're gaining that confidence.
Yeah,
Columbus on the year has given up 36 goals. The Union have given up 26. We know a couple of them were own goals. So you know, a, attacking goals from the opposite team have been around 24. So
limited, yeah.
yeah, so you've been one of the better defensive teams in terms of keeping people off the board. That a huge point of that goes to Andre Blake being Andre Blake. But Columbus has given up goals. I mean, they're not exactly unstoppable in D against Montreal. They have a
No,
goal. New England scored against them. The Red Bulls, they shut out. They were shut out by Miami, but Miami scored a goal. Orlando scored 3 goals. This team can be scored on. So, but we saw the
yeah,
same exact thing against Montreal. We when they came into Philly, we said the same exact thing. Montreal can be scored on. The first half, we looked great. We're going to score a couple goals on them, no problem. And then this team just kind of shut down.
it's
Do you?
about taking chances.
I couldn't agree more. It's about taking those chances and making things happen.
There we go.
Do you think we see the similar outcome there? Unfortunately, do
Uh,
you think we see a team that just can't beat a
I
bad
think
defensive squad?
I don't. I think maybe they could. I think they'll definitely score. I think the Union seem to score in most games they play, but I mean, they need to grow, and I think that just comes from not Jose's on the pitch, but when you've got the ball on the edge of the box and you've got a good chance to shoot, take a shot. I think the game that actually played last game against Columbus Crew, I think it was the game when Tara scored from the edge of the box.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, again, just take your chances. Have a shot from the edge of the box. If you've got the ball out wide and you see Casper on his own on a one-on-one with the defender, put the box. Don't just stand there and then pass it backwards and do a load of other things, then cross into the box when it's a 4-on-1 or 4-on-2. If you
Right.
see there's a good chance of something to happen, just do it. Just get the ball in there. Be more cutthroat. Have that killer instinct that this team has lacked throughout this throughout the last 4.5, 5 months. They need to carry that killer instinct. They have to be more confident. They have to, so just take the shots. Get in the ball's in the edge of the box, shoot. The ball's out wide, put a cross in. You think the goalkeeper's maybe off his line? Have a go from the halfway line. If he's off his line, you might score, you might get a corner, you might get anything. Do you know what I mean? You just need to be cutthroat. They need to be confident because this team should be confident. They're coming off the back of a great Champions League run. They've done well
Yeah.
this year. I mean, they're sort of breaking the curve of what other teams that have had lengthy CCR runs have done, which is obviously peter out and have a crap season. They're not doing
Completely
that.
agree. Yep.
They're coming off obviously the support shield. Just play with confidence. Just they're not a bad team. They have good attacking players. Just do what you've got. I'm ranting so much, but again, just do what they've got to do. And
No,
if a
I think
chance presents itself, do it.
it's a fair point. You aren't a bad team. For some of the games this year that we've seen where they've played, I'd say poorly. Overall, they're not a bad team. They're not a great
No,
team. I wouldn't even say they're a good team. Maybe they're an above average team. But regardless, after this grueling schedule, after a weird season overall with the breaks, the players going away for international duty, all this stuff, you find yourself still right behind third place in the Eastern Conference, in a very competitive Eastern Conference. There's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of confidence to be had off that reality.
yeah,
Um, and it all comes down to the leadership of Jim, Allie, Andre Blake, having these guys ready. One thing that I've liked recently is that they're not giving up that early goal anymore. They kind of seem to have put that to bed. Yes, they gave
yeah,
up a goal in the first half against the Red Bulls. I get that. It was off a mental mistake. I get that. But I'm not looking at the clock anymore at the 15-minute mark saying, "Oh, they didn't score," or they didn't give up a goal. They're starting to kind
no,
of they are starting these games with more of that readiness and that intensity, which I'm liking. One thing that I saw last night as well that I hope they continue against Columbus, even though Columbus has some dangerous pieces, I hope they continue. Is I hope they continue to press. If they turn the ball over, I want to see them press. I want to see them attack. I
win
don't
it
want to
back.
see them just to win it back. We saw that a couple times last night. I think it was oh my god, I think it was Leon in the first half lost the ball. He attacked right away. He got the throw in or he got a corner kick out of it, whatever. But if you make a mistake like you did last night a couple times when you gave the ball away, the worst thing you can do against a team like Columbus, who does have some dangerous pieces, is just sit back and wait for them to attack you. You have to
Yeah,
be on the front. You have to push them off. You have to make them uncomfortable, because if they are a team that gives up as many goals as they do, then making them uncomfortable is the key to breaking that defense and getting to the back of the net.
yeah.
So there's a lot to look forward to. But final predictions. What are you thinking? Goal score. Who do you think is going to score a goal for us?
I'm gonna go 2-1 Philly. I
Two
think
one Philly.
Casper and I'm gonna go Casper and Gazdag.
Oh, Gazdag finally scores a goal. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go with a. Unfortunately, I don't know, I feel like a draw is coming because of the way Columbus is playing. So I'm gonna say 1-1 draw, and I think that I think Jamiro gets it.
Yeah,
Actually, no, playing. He's probably playing further back. No, he's probably not gonna get it. I'll go with you. I'll go Gazdag. Sure. I'll see if he finally breaks through today,
yeah,
and we'll be rooting for him on Sunday. But
yeah.
let's wrap up the show with our sponsors because our awesome AAT Sports has to get paid. So we're going to start off with one of our favorite sponsors, Manscaped. So if you manscaped.com right there, you'll see in the link below, you get 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. We've been talking about this product for a long time now. Chip, I know, is a big fan of it as well. So please, manscaped.com right there below. The next sponsor we
Yeah.
have is OddsJam. OddsJam is the number one software platform for sportsbook bandits. Sign up today at oddsjam.com via AAT Birds. Again, right there below. It's a pretty cool way to to spin your betting lifestyle. Up next is check out Statement Games at statementgames.com for a fun new way to fantasy sports and entertainment. You can win gift cards and prizes, and it's completely free to sign up. As I say below, it's really, really cool. If you're bored of the usual betting, check out Statement Games because it's a new twist to it. One of our newest sponsors is Lot Train Watches. Lot Train Watches at lottrain.com. Use the code AATBirds for 10% off at checkout. Beautiful assortment of watches there, so check it out, please. They're one of our newest sponsors, and we're very thankful to have them
Yeah.
on our team. And last but not least, of course, get your across the pitch gear and all of the network gear at aatbirds.com/shop. You've seen me wear my Barreras bucket shirt. I gave my dad an across the pitch shirt. He wore it the other day. He loves it. There's a ton of
Nice.
gear, ton of equipment, accessories, all that stuff that you can get for your fall wardrobe. Some hoodies, some pretty nice stuff.
Nice.
But that's gonna wrap up our show tonight. Dave, it's been a pleasure talking to you as well. Paul has
Pleasure.
been doing our production work today, so I
Yeah, as I
appreciate
say,
Paul. Thank you so much.
cheers.
He's our
Thank you,
newest
Paul, for that.
producer, and we have a Sunday match at 4 o'clock p.m. Dave, I don't think you're gonna be covering the match. I will be covering it,
A bit of
so
work. Yeah.
you'll be at work. So I'll be covering the match for you guys. I'll have the live tweets. I'll have the match report, and I'll be covering the press conference as well.
Good
Pending
stuff.
anything crazy. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, have a good night. Dupe, thanks for stopping by.
Do it. Good night, guys.